A very good evening, all of you. Welcome to Super Coaching UPSC by Textbook. This is Venkatesh, your faculty for geography. And as the picture talks about it, in this session, we'll be discussing about the climatic regions of India or the climatic regions of the world. So, if you talk about the climatic regions of the world, you know that this is a topic of very uh, important in terms of understanding about the world geography, understanding about, say, the concept called biomes in the environment section, as well as a general idea about perspective about the climate of the world. So you'll get to know about world geography, you'll get to know about the biomes concept, as well as you'll also have an indirect understanding of the forests of the world. So climate, what is a climatic region? If you see in this picture, it is talking about multiple climatic zones of the world, right? So I hope I'm audible to all of you. I hope I'm audible. Right. Okay. Right. Now, if you see this climatic regions, you can see the red color lines here. The red color, you can see the red here, the red. It indicates about the red color indicates about the tropical hot deserts. You can see the blue color, the dark blue color. You can see here, especially here, the dark blue. These are the regions of the Amazon forests or the equatorial forests, Amazon forest in Brazil, the forests of Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Zaire Basin in the Africa, the regions of Indonesia, Malaysia, Indonesian region in the equatorial region, and as well as you'll see that some parts here in the Ecuador, Colombia as such. Now this is one type of a climate. You can see the typical nature of the things here, the transitions. So these are the grasslands. You can see the orange color things. This is the grassland. You can see the green color things here. The green color things. This is the British type of climate. You see, this is British type of climate, right? So British. Now you can see this dark green, this green color. You can see this is the Siberian region, the regions of the tundra climate. Sorry, this is the taiga climate. Taiga climate. Now what we are talking about is the regions of the world. Because of various parameters, we can divide them into climate. And according to this climate, we can divide the world into multiple climatic zones. For example, what are climatic zones? What are they? Climatic zones are, or climatic regions are, which have internal, they are internally homogeneous, and they are externally heterogeneous. You see this word, internally homogeneous. Climatic regions are internally homogeneous. That means within that same, same. Externally heterogeneous, within that outside different. For example, if these are two sets, one climatic region A, one climatic regions B. Within this climatic region A and B, you will find that, say, there are some kind of criterias. Say this is A1, A2, A3, three different places. B1, B2, B3, three different places. Within this climatic zone of A1, A2, 3, 3, with respect to certain parameters, there is some kind of a uniformity. For example, climatic regions are one where there is some kind of uniformity with respect to certain parameters. These parameters are internally homogeneous. That means internally the temperature would be one and the same. The precipitation would be one and the same. So when you talk about climate, what do you consider? You consider, say, around the temperature. You consider, say, around rainfall. The temperature and rainfall. When you have uniformity conditions in terms of temperature and rainfall, the climate will be more or less the same. Using this climate as a base, we can understand something about the world. Why do you think that you are learning about these climatic regions? For example, why do you think you are learning? What is the significance of this learning? What is the significance? Significance of climatic regions. Yes, anyone, what is the significance? You know, why do you are thinking about significance of these climatic regions? The climatic regions give a general order of climate. What do they do? They give general order of climate, right? For example, I'll tell you one thing. In 2018, I'll give you one important climatic story you were in which you will try to understand about this phenomena very well. Say in 2018, you all know that Kerala has seen some kind of a Kerala floods. We have seen, sorry, if Kerala has seen some floods, which we remember it as the Kerala floods of 2018, which was very, very severe, right? Then one of the learnings out of that Kerala floods was dam management in India. For example, now Kerala or South India, which is typically a monsoonal climate, is more or less have similarities with respect to the regions of Thailand. So this is Thailand, this is Kerala. You will see that more or less they have similar kind of a climate. Okay, the regions of South India compared with Thailand. That's what the comparisons are. Now the learnings, which is why we are trying to understand about this topic, is in this way. So Kerala has got floods. As Kerala has got floods, why do you think one of the reason they got floods was, see, floods is always a phenomena of more rainfall, excessive rainfall. But that excessive rainfall, how are you managing, is also equally important. For example, we all know that India receives monsoonal rainfall in the months of June, July, August, September. Similarly, when Thailand is also having a similar climate of monsoonal climate, they also are having the same kind of June, July, August, September as the rainfall months, because that is how the southwest monsoons enter into India, so as for Thailand. Is that the same? Definitely yes. Now, if that was the case, why do you think that there was a comparison here? So what happened was, this is the case. When you know that rainfall is frequent and when you have excessive rainfall is the time, how are you managing dams is also equally important. For example, India, before the monsoon season, we try to not to really, we try what we can do, what we used to do is, before the monsoons, we don't release our dam water. We store significant amount of water. So when you know that monsoon is about to come, the amount of water which we still store is almost around 70% of the capacity of the water. How much? 70% of the capacity of the dams. Whereas when you compare with the same water management with Thailand, you will see that Thailand is occupying around 40% of the dams with water. That means what? When there is a good amount of rainfall, when there is a decent amount of water flow arriving into the rivers, and thereby dams will have the ability to absorb more water in Thailand. They have the capacity to absorb 60%, whereas in India we have the capacity of observations of only around 40% or 30%. Because of that, the water is more flooding, the dams are forced to release more water, and thereby low-lying areas of Kerala have been flooded. So this called a question for raising of why are we so traditional, or why are we so conservative in nature of protecting the waters during a monsoon season. See, I understand in India we have the concept of floods and droughts. So if there is, imagine there is an alternative scenario as well where there is a drought. So before there is an alternative scenario where, because of the in the assumption of the flood, you have released water and there is lesser amount of water now. Now the rainfall did not occur. So it is, whatever the water is there, you have thrown away into the ocean, and thereby there is no drinking water. Now there is a question mark of drought. Yes, that was the era of the past. But with the kind of development of sophistications of technologies we have in management of our weather, the satellite data of ISRO, all these kind of things, we are able to predict the amount of rainfall, the amount of possibilities and all those kind of things. When you try to manage this data and correct that with respect to the dam management, definitely India can manage this a very superior way than compared with the past. Now, what is the learnings we had? The learnings were, when you have problems, when you have climate of similarities, you have the problems are also as the similarities, and you can share the best practices. So what is the nature of the, why are you learning of the climatic regions? What is the significance of understanding climate? Significance of climatic regions. It will understand about it will help you to obtain a general order. If it tries to obtain you a general order, do you really think that that would be sufficient for us? Yes. If it is tries to help you to obtain a general order, what do you mean by general order? The general understanding of climate of a region. Using that, you can resolve common problems. Resolve common problems. I have this general query, I have this general kind of an approach. When the problems are not unique, solutions also need not be unique. Say, for example, if many of us are facing common problems, the solutions of one person will definitely be helpful for the other as well. If the conditions are such that everyone has some kind of unique conditions, then the solutions need to be unique. Otherwise, need not be. For example, many of you are preparing for the same exam. Most of you might have, of course, there is a general difference in terms of abilities which you have at that each point of time. But at a certain time, you can compare. For example, I can compare, say, my knowledge at the age of 22, at the age of when I am 22, with your knowledge of 22. Then I can try to give some kind of wisdom of that. I cannot compare now my knowledge of geography with your present knowledge, because that would be a bit, what do you say, irregular. There will be a difference. But definitely at the age of 22, my geographical knowledge, your geographical knowledge, I would not say that will also would be equal, because different people will have different likes and dislikes, but definitely there will be some kind of a correlation. So what are the problems I might have faced in geography? You also might have faced it. The problems of economy, you also might have faced it. Problems of current affairs, you also might have faced, and these days even CSAT as well. CSAT problems. So when you can resolve common problems, similarly, climatic regions are also helping in resolutions of common problems. Example, as I told you, dam management in India as well as Thailand. India as well as Thailand. So we can manage the dams very, very well when you compare with these kind of things. This is how the learnings are. Please understand, we are here to share the best practices also. Sharing of best practices. Maybe in future, with good amount of, understandings and all, we can also try to have much kind of better things in the future. I hope you all are following. I hope there are no much doubts, right? So this is what you can do. You can share the best practices. In fact, when you have common partnerships, you can develop common partnerships as well. Partnerships, right? You can leverage the use of technology. You can develop specific R&D which we need. For example, when you know that India and Bangladesh will be having around an important mangroves called Sundarbans, both of the countries are sharing Sundarbans. Understanding of Sundarbans, they can a proper research and development which can go across by taking the talent of both the countries, India and Bangladesh. Similarly, you have some kind of savanna grasslands. Remember the cheetahs which you have relocated from Namibia? Where do you think you have relocated? You have relocated in the regions of the same climate. So the Kuno National Park, which is more or less having certain extent similarities with respect to the Namibian region. I would not say it is an exact replica, but definitely there are certain kind of similarities. So it is almost like in a sarcastic thing I could say, yet there is so much thing which is same, at the same time there is so much thing which is not same also. Same, not same, both at the same time. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. So this is the idea. Whatever the learnings for you is, as you learn about climate, you have to understand that different regions will be having similar climatic regions might have similar kinds of under climate, similar kind of learnings. And once you understand, get a certain order, it will be help you to resolve the common problems. Say agriculture. Which are the countries which are known for agriculture, well-developed agriculture? Say India, Vietnam, southern China. So these are the typical monsoonal lands. You can see here India, the Vietnam region, southern China. These are the typical countries which are known for the monsoonal climate, and that is where rice is extensively cultivated. Now tomorrow, if you need to understand about R&D of rice development, how we can reduce usage of water in rice, how we can you make a sustainable agriculture cultivation of rice, we can understand learnings by having proper R&D accordingly these regions. Now this is what my perspective of climatic regions is, right? So when you are trying to understand a climatic region, please try to understand the climatic regions in this way that, right? Try to understand in this way that for every climatic region, you have a particular location and understand its distribution. Definitely they have uniform climatic conditions. What are the climatic conditions of each climatic region? What is the climatic condition? Especially two criteria of temperature as well as rainfall. The moment you have similar temperature and rainfall, the flora and fauna, especially the natural vegetation would be one and the same, right? The flora would be one and the same. Because of that, there would be certain particular animal life and their adaptations, right? Animal life and their adaptations, right? So when you have this animal life and adaptations in this way, say, where do you find cheetahs? Where do you find leopards? There is a particular region which you can find. So that way you can understand. And more or less all this will be in a similar order. And they are very closely related with each other. The climatic conditions would determine what kind of natural vegetation. Temperature and rainfall would determine the forests. And similarly, even agriculture, economic activities. You cannot practice agriculture of the practice which you do in India in Russia, no? The nature of agriculture of India and Russia would be vastly different, considering the climate is very, very different. So agriculture, you will have an understand. This is the base. Then we'll also, when you study about climatic regions, we'll also study about the other things. Say other things like how is the industrial development over that region, how is the minerals, what are the minerals which are available in that region, how these minerals and development, or what is the general distribution of population, human geography of that region as well, we'll try to understand. So this is what the division of a climatic region is about. So when you talk about the climatic regions of the world, basically we can divide the climatic regions in this way. Say we all know that the first major factor about climate of the world is always the rainfall, is the temperature. Temperature is a basic of latitude. So we know that this is hot, this is warm, this is cool, and this is cold. You can see here accordingly. Accordingly, we have divided the regions in this way. You can see the hot zone. You can see hot, what come a wet equatorial climate. Now, around the equator, there is not much of a difference. Because there is not much of a difference of temperatures, there is no variation of seasons. Seasons are usually absent. each day is more or less the same throughout the year, you will find that hot comma wet equatorial climate is along the equator. The moment you go beyond the equator, say at least around 5 to 10 degrees north, then you will find the difference. One such difference you will find is the monsoonal type, the savanna type, and the deserts type. Then the moment you go much into the, now this is what you call it as the tropical part. Call it as the tropical part. Beyond the tropical part, you will have the Mediterranean climate, the steppe climate, or the China type of climate. Now, Mediterranean, steppe climate, China type of climate, this is a warm temperate zone. Warm temperate zone, Mediterranean climate, steppe climate, or the China type of climate, this is the kind of warm temperate zone, right? Now, warm, say here between the latitudes, say this is the latitude from 30 degrees to 45 degrees. Then from 45 to 60, this is cool temperate. So this is the tropical part, this is the temperate part. Within temperate, we divide it into warm and cool, and then you find the polar zone. This is the base. The second basis of understanding, this is the latitude. The second basis of understanding is, why do you think you have, say, west, east, central? For example, this is west, this is central part of a continent, and this is the eastern part of a continent. It is very simple. We all have studied what are the factors which will affect climate: temperature, altitude, latitude, factors which affect temperature, climate of a region or the temperature of a region. When you talk about temperature, the first factor is latitude. The second factor we'll discuss about distance from the coast. Similarly, rainfall. When you study about all these parameters put together, then another important factor is distance from away from the coastline, which will determine your extent of rainfall. So you have the westerly winds, which will give rainfall here. And you will have the trade winds, which will give rainfall here. So trade winds blow like this. Now, there is no wind which is coming from the ocean to land. Imagine this block is a continent and this block is an ocean. There is no wind which can blow like this in this part. That is the reason why this region turned into a desert. So in this way, we can divide the climatic parameters into multiple kinds of zones. I hope you have understood this kind of criteria of classification. So with these classifications, we can divide the world into multiple things. Say once again, we'll try to understand based on the parameters in a triangle as well. For example, imagine these regions will be having coldness, this region will be having as hotness. So as you move across from the lower base of the triangle towards the top tip of the triangle, you will find there is hotness. Okay, hot, warm, cool, cold. So hot, warm, cool, cold. Now imagine this side from here to here, this region will have very, very heavy rainfall, wet. This region will have very, very less rainfall, dry. So wet to dry. Now the regions, now I can divide this into tropical, temperate, warm temperate, cool temperate, and cold temperate. And within this here, this will be the regions of tropical equatorial forest, now slowly from here, what happened? In fact, we'll call this with a new name, isn't it? The actual climate. The actual climate here, we call it as what? Hot, wet, equatorial climate. Right? From here, if you move towards, the rainfall will be falling down. The rainfall. Now you see, remember the vegetation, evergreen forest, semi-evergreen forest. Then you will find the tropical monsoons. Rainfall will be there, but rainfall will not be that high when compared with equatorial rainfall. Then you have the savanna grasslands. Rainfall will be there, it will not be that high as monsoons, right? Then you have the hot deserts. Rainfall will be there, it will be much lesser rainfall. Say here you have rainfall of 200 centimeters. Here will be rainfall have 100 to 200 centimeters. This is around 80 centimeters of rainfall. This is now less than 50 centimeters of rainfall. All these regions are tropical only, but the rainfall is the deciding factor. Similarly, in the temperate what? You can find the difference. Say, for example, here you can talk about the polar region. Then you can talk about the tundra region. Okay. Then you can also divide further. This is as taiga region, right? Polar, tundra, taiga. Then within the taiga on the western side, you have something as the British climate. And this is where you will call Laurentian climate, right? Then here slowly you can talk about, this is the region of temperate grasslands. Temperate grasslands. Remember the things like, what do you say that? Pampas, prairies, downs, velds. That's what the temperate grasslands. Then you can find the variations. Say, for example, this would be the Mediterranean climate on the western side. Right, this is what we call it as China Natal Gulf type. So what we are trying to do, we can divide the world into multiple parameters and also try to understand about the climate in this way. Now, what is our approach? Say, I'll give you just a brief example now. Say the first, see how the vegetation varies. Now you see tropical evergreen, more rainfall. This is how the canopy. Monsoons, deciduous forest, known for deciduous forest which will shed their leaves in the winter, in the dry season. You can see the deciduous. Then, by the way, I have a story to tell. Pushpa is observed in this part of the world, right? The famous movie Pushpa. You can see that Pushpa is observed in this part of the world. This part of the world is so dense that even it is difficult for the Pushpa to travel into the different dense portions of the world. In fact, I would say that the sandalwood smuggler Virappan is very famous in this part of the world of the red sandalwood of the deciduous forest, but definitely not with respect to the tropical evergreen forest. Now, this kind of understanding and correlation, if you get it, climate would be under our grip, geography would be under our command. That is what my approach is. Similarly, you can see the moment when I see the Lion King movie, so if you remember the names, what are the names? Simba, Mufasa, okay, Scar. If you remember the moment Lion King, the first thing I'll get to know about this landscape. Then, if you see this is the tropical deserts with a lack of vegetation. So this is the approach I will be following in the class where I will be trying to explain. That is what you mean by visualization of the topics. I hope you all have understood this topic, right? Then you can see this with this. We'll get into that. For more such information and about every kind of things, you can get into my Telegram channel by scanning the QR code, or you can simply type it as Venkatesh Sir's Geographical Voyage is my Telegram name. We'll get to know about these kind of more initiatives, and you can interact with me. All such doubts you can ask. That's it about today, right? You can subscribe to this channel, and you can please share this video to as many people as possible so that they can also learn. As I say, sharing is caring, and show us learnings is one type of a caring itself, where the more you care about others, you also can help them to learn. Okay, thank you.